You never want to be too much because that might put people off. So you try to be the exact right amount, even though you know deep down that's absolutely impossible. You don't want to be seen as someone who isn't perfect, because if you're really being honest with yourself, your self-worth is entirely tied to the people around you and how they perceive you. I do this thing where if the person that I'm talking to is not into the same things as I am, I try to fill the space with something else. I do that because it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I do this because I am really scared of being boring or boring them. But the weird part is that if they were to do that, if they were to talk about their things that they like, I will have no problem with it. I will listen to intently, and not because it's fake. I genuinely am interested in them because they're either someone close to me or I'm just genuinely interested in what they have to say. So I listen very intently. I ask the questions. I am really into the conversation. I'm like super into it all the time. But if it's the other way around, that's a problem. I don't give them the chance to do the same for me. I don't give them the chance to just be as excited about the things that I'm excited about, even though they might not know much about the subject. Even with my actual friends, the one that I'm very close with, sometimes I make sure that the conversation is tailored to them specifically. If it's something that, I think this thing would interest you, so I'm gonna talk about it. I don't just talk about things that I might think they might not be interested in, even though sometimes I might be wrong. What if they are interested in those things? But yeah, I do hide this part involuntarily. I don't even think about it. It is so ingrained in my mind that I don't even think about it. I went to a birthday party recently. And let me tell you, this was a bit of a wake-up call. It was for someone who was very close to me, but I didn't know anybody else. It was just a small gathering. They were all talking about their favorite TV shows, their favorite movies, and at some point the conversation went towards their favorite shows. And everybody said theirs. Everybody was like, I love this and this, and my top 5, I really love this. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I personally never heard of anything they said. So anything that they said, I'd never heard of it. But I was like, oh, that's so cool. What is it about? I was asking questions. I was being engaging. I was like, ooh, what about that? What about that? What's that about? And genuinely, I was truly genuinely interested in them. I was like, ooh, I've never heard of that. That is quite interesting. Tell me more. But not in a fake way, in genuine kind of friend way. But then all of a sudden, the conversation turned to me. My turn came. Hey, Tina, what's your favorite TV shows and movies? Can you tell us? And I blanked out. I remember feeling so incredibly self-conscious. Instead of telling them what I actually liked, I scrambled. I replied with shows that I knew they knew, or I thought they might knew. I made sure that it sounded like a safe answer. And it wasn't fake. I genuinely liked the show that I gave as an example. I liked them. There were shows that I genuinely did like, but they were not my favorite shows. When you have a top 5, and then you have a top 5 to 10. I gave them a 5 to 10 because I knew those are more this is something that they might like. And I give the safe answers because I was afraid to not being made fun of. I think looking back, the fear of them making fun of me or maybe changing their opinions about myself just based on the shows that I like, even though it's not even that controversial. That's the thing about fear. It's not like there is a reason necessarily. You're just being yourself. You're just being a human being. I like these things. It's not necessarily something that makes you a bad person or anything, but you're so scared of maybe them thinking that, what is that you like? But they won't, because otherwise they wouldn't be your friends. They never did that before. They never ridiculed anything that you like. They were never like that. It doesn't fit the pattern, but it doesn't matter because at some point in your life, you did have that happen to you and by someone else entirely. And then you project the same thing to the other people, the new people in your life that they may never done anything like that. They would not be capable of doing that. They would never do that to you, but still you project the same fears onto them just to feel safe. I was trying to figure out why I did this, and I stumbled into a very interesting concept. He was this psychiatrist called Carl Jung, and he had this very interesting concept called the persona. Jung said the persona is a mask we wear. It's designed to make an impression on others, but also to conceal our true nature. It's how we survive socially. But the danger is when you start identifying with the mask. You get so good at playing the easygoing, tailored to you character that you forget it's supposed to be removable. I think think that is what happened to me at that party. I wasn't having a conversation per se. I wasn't having just a normal conversation. I was running in the back of my mind this algorithm of what would be the most acceptable part to show, what would be the most acceptable version of myself that I could show. And the scary thing is in this whole thing is that you don't realize that you're doing it per se. It's not like you make necessarily a conscious decision. Sometimes you do, but most of the times you're just like, oh, it comes off so easily, this part. Sometimes you're like, well, why did I do that? That is, hold on, that is odd. And if you're watching this, if you're exhausted after talking to people, having a conversation, or just hanging out, sometimes this might be the reason why. I feel like we're spending all of our energies to manage these masks that we put on, these personas, instead of actually being in the room, instead of being present, instead of just being yourself. I feel like we're just so scared of showing quote unquote your true colors, even though most of the stuff that you're afraid of is not things that would make you a bad person in the first place. They would not make you a bad person. Absolutely not. And I think that's what's the most frustrating, because if you were to say your favorite shows, they wouldn't be weird. They were just normal shows that people like. It puzzles me sometimes. It's not all days that is this heavy. Some days are easier than others. Some days I can truly just be like, I don't fucking care. I'm just gonna be myself. I don't fucking care. I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that because that's what feels authentic to me. Certain days you can be authentic. Certain days you just have no problems, and certain days you just want to hide. And I'm smiling a lot, not because it's funny, but because I'm talking about something uncomfortable. On the hard days that this gets a bit too much, it is really exhausting to just be the right kind of person, to not be too much or too little, or just be interesting enough and fit this box that you put yourself in that doesn't even sometimes make sense, and you're asking yourself, why do I do this? Why are these things happening to me? But here is the thought that is giving me a little bit of peace, a little bit of space. If I give this perfectly version of myself that is not authentic to me, it could be a part of me. If I always give this, because the thing is, we sometimes can be tailored depending to our situation, depending where we're talking to. If you're at work, you're gonna be obviously professional in that. If you're with friends, you may be a bit more casual. The point is, if you're always trying to be this perfect version that always says the right thing, always does the right thing, you sell a version that is not truly authentic to yourself. The people around you will not know you for you, and they will not actually connect with me. One thing that I must say, I really love connecting with people intellectually and emotionally. That is probably one of the things that I absolutely adore about human connections. Knowing that and getting to know that raw part of someone, their raw feelings, raw ideas, everything that just comes from them and their heart. I love that, but I don't give that to people. And I feel like it's just unfair, because how can I expect people to be authentic with me when I can't be authentic with myself? It's like a performance, but you need to always make sure that you also let that authentic self out. Being too much is a risk. I think I'm slowly realizing that I would rather be too much for the wrong people and allowing to have the right people find me and see me for who I actually really am. It's honestly terrifying. It is really terrifying. But I feel like for the first time, taking this mask off feels and sound a lot better than suffocating underneath it. It is much better to just be yourself, truly authentic self. And if you make mistakes, you learn from them. If things don't go well, you learn from them, and hopefully next time will go better. But always, I'm going closer to the camera. Always be authentic to yourself. Your true self. Be authentic, okay? Promise? Promise? Okay. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.